Alright, man, here's the sitch. I wrote a video about Garfield being an alcoholic, and I was like, this kind of sucks. So I was like, what's the next best Garfield that I know? James Garfield, the 20th president of the United States. In 1880, James A. Garfield was elected President of the United States. Soon before, a crazed man named Charles Guiteau wrote a short speech supporting Garfield's opponent in the election. When it became apparent that Garfield had won the election, he changed the speech to support Garfield. Guiteau was a certified crazy man. He was a serial con man who managed to pass the Chicago bar. Guiteau worked as a bill collector, charging his clients exorbitant rates for his services, sometimes taking the entirety of the money he collected. So the bill collector had bill collectors coming after him. Kind of funny. Guiteau lived in a commune for a short period of time and was so hated by the community that he was nicknamed Charles Get Out. Guiteau was a raging narcissist who flew into a blind rage at the slightest bit of criticism. He also had brain syphilis, which probably didn't help his case. Remember that little speech that Guiteau wrote? Well, after reading the speech a few times to whoever would listen on the street, Guiteau began to believe that he was solely responsible for Garfield's victory. He began demanding that Garfield give him a consulship in Paris. He would eventually stalk both Garfield himself and the Secretary of State. Eventually, the Secretary of State got fed up with this random narcissist bumbling to him about some consulship he was never guaranteed. The Secretary of State broke and told Guiteau, "Never speak to me again on this Paris consulship as long as you live." This broke Guiteau, and soon he decided to do what any bumbling narcissist does and kill the president. So Guiteau is fully committed to murdering the president at this point, and he decides to go to a gun shop. When picking which revolver he wants, he has the choice between a wood handle and an ivory handle. He picked the ivory handle for no other reason than he thought it would look good in a museum. In July of 1881, Guiteau stalked Garfield to a train station, where he shot Garfield twice in the back, proclaiming, "I am stalwarts of stalwarts. Arthur," referring to Vice President Chester A. Arthur, "is president now." Garfield would take another 11 weeks to die of his wounds. The real sad part is, he would have survived if doctors didn't use their grubby, unwashed hands in his open wounds, infecting him. The trial of Charles Guiteau would be a high-profile case. He had a tendency of making his testimony into epic poems, which he would recite and placed an ad after his autobiography looking for a nice Christian lady under 30 years of age. He was sentenced to death, and before being hanged, recited a poem he wrote. He requested an orchestra to play behind him. That was denied. Soon after finishing his poem, a black hood was placed over his head, and Charles Guiteau was hung. Moral of the story is, don't join a commune. You might end up killing the president.